You might know Ellie Kemper from her role as a cult survivor in Unbreakable Kimmie Schmidt or her time in The Office. But what's she been up to since then? From a podcast to her first book, she has a lot going on. Anyone wondering what happened to Kemper probably just hasn't seen her last few projects. Being that they skipped theaters, then went straight to streaming, it's understandable why you might have missed them. What might be popular one day can become totally irrelevant the next, mercilessly buried beneath a landslide of fresh content. One such project is 2021's Home Sweet Home Alone, Disney's first Home Alone installment since acquiring 21st Century Fox. Kemper plays Pam McKenzie, who along with her husband Jeff attempt to steal a valuable doll from Max Mercer's home when he's left alone by his family. Of course, they make Harry and Marv proud by falling for all of Max's traps in classic bumbling thief fashion.
We'll be in and out before you know.
This is not going well!
To put it mildly, it was not a critical success, but still Kemper and Delaney did their best to make the reboot enjoyable. Kemper even put her safety on the line for this role, as she actually caught on fire during one of the stunts. Talking to Screen Rant about how Delaney had to put her out using a Santa hat, she said, "I felt something very hot that being a dutiful student, I thought, well, this is just part of it. But it turned out it was fire, and Delaney did save me." Kemper also starred in the 2023 Netflix original movie Happiness for Beginners. The romantic comedy sees Kemper play Helen, a woman trying to get back on her feet following a divorce. How does she go about it? She signs up for a survivalist course on the Appalachian Trail. This is where she meets Jake, and the two begin a whirlwind romance. It didn't end up performing a whole lot better than Home Sweet Home Alone in terms of critical response, but oh well, work is work. In other projects she's been in lately, you can hear her but not see her, so it goes with voiceover work. For example, she recently worked on The Simpsons, voicing Mary in the season 32 episode A Springfield Summer Christmas for Christmas. The episode takes aim at how all those Hallmark Christmas movies follow the same predictable plot, with Kemper's Mary traveling to Springfield to check on a Christmas movie production. While there, she winds up getting wrapped up in a romance plot with Principal Skinner.
Skinner, I don't know your first name. You're the one who remembered how I like my coffee, and that's why I choose you.
Beyond that, Kemper voiced Ingrid Witherstrop in the Central Park episode Where There's Smoke, and she also had a recurring part in Eureka. The latter is a Disney Junior series about a young girl in prehistoric times who wants to better the world through her various inventions. Kemper voices Chi, the school librarian. All of these recent voiceover roles are nothing new for Kemper. She's been part of many cartoons, including We Bare Bears and Sophia the First. She's also lent her voiceover talents to both Secret Life of Pets movies as Katie, the human owner of Max and Duke, and the Lego Batman movie in which she plays Phyllis, the sentient 2x4 brick who acts as the gatekeeper of the Phantom Zone.
Okay, but I need all the bad guys locked up in here.
I promise.
Shortly after Kemper starred in Bridesmaids, she went straight to being a bride. She married writer Michael Coman in 2012. It's a match made in comedy heaven, as Coman has worked on Saturday Night Live, Late Night with Conan O'Brien, Important Things with Dimitri Martin, and Nathan For You, among others. Coman helped pen some of the best Nathan For You business plans, like the haunted house that made people think they contracted a deadly disease.
Don't get freaked out or anything, but I called an ambulance.
The couple has 2 children together, James, who was born in 2016, and Matthew, who was born in 2019. Both pregnancies impacted her time on Unbreakable Kimmie Schmidt, with the first occurring while she was filming season 2. Kemper said on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon that she told the show's co-creator Tina Fey about it, and they had to come up with a story about how she had a back injury so that she didn't have to do a scene on a roller coaster. Turns out, though, she's not the best liar.
Someone said, "Oh, well, what's wrong?" And words escaped me. I'm like, I sprained my spine.
Her second pregnancy coincided with the filming of the Kimmy vs. the Reverend interactive special, and she admitted on Ellen that she felt bad for her co-star Daniel Radcliffe. "I felt so bad he had to kiss this old pregnant lady over and over again. There was a moment when he grazed my belly. It felt wrong, but he's a trooper. He's very lovely." Anyone who pays attention to Kemper during interviews knows that she always seems to be having the time of her life, so it only makes sense that she started a podcast called Born to Love. Along with her co-host and longtime friend Scott Eckert, the pair have a celebrity guest most weeks, and they discuss what the guest loves most in the world. Kemper's Office co-star Jenna Fisher appeared on an episode to talk about the best Keanu Reeves movies, while another Office actor, Randall Park, joined them to talk about how much he enjoys the New York City Marathon. Kemper said on the Bobby Bones show that she really wanted to do something with Eckert, and this specific podcast seemed like a great idea to her.
He lives in LA, I'm in New York, so it's an easy thing to accomplish long distance.
However, the podcast is way more than an excuse for two friends to work together, Kemper went on. This is corny, but we actually wanted to make something that was buoyant and joyful. There's a lot going on in the world, so we wanted this to be a really nice little escape where people, wonderful personalities, come on and talk about things that bring them joy.
We wanted it to be funny and not too serious, and we wanted to have a good time with each other.
Kemper is a true jack of all trades. In addition to being an actor and podcaster, she also published her own book in 2018 called My Squirrel Days. The book is a collection of essays about Kemper growing up in Missouri and then the challenges she faced trying to make it in Hollywood. While there are chapters about her time working on The Office and Unbreakable Kimmie Schmidt, it's more a general portrait of Kemper, detailing all of the jobs she worked prior to her big break. Fans of Kemper's work will likely be delighted by all the interesting trivia and tidbits in the book. For example, Kemper wrote that she auditioned for the role of Donna on Parks and Recreation, that eventually went to Retta, and this led to her landing her Office gig. She also confirms that the original title for Unbreakable Kimmie Schmidt was Tukin, like taken, but silly. She even goes into detail about the advice she received from Steve Carell, Tina Fey, and Ricky Gervais early in her career. Writing the book was also a chance for Kemper to recontextualize moments from years ago, as she explained to St. Louis Magazine. She told the publication, "I seem to remember myself as being much more timid, but when I revisited these episodes both in my mind and through old emails, letters, and scrapbooks and such, I found that I had a lot more verve than I remember myself as having." Kemper also helped bring the world of Kimmie Schmidt to life by narrating the audiobook version of The Legends of Grimulax. The book that Kimmie wrote in the world of the show was released for real in 2019, but while Kimmie's name is on the cover, it was actually written by Montreal native Sarah Milnowski, the author of the Whatever After series. In 2023, Kemper made her Broadway debut in Peter Pan Goes Wrong. As the title suggests, this is a comedic play in which a drama association attempts to put on a production of J.M. Barrie's famous tale, but gets thwarted at every turn. Kemper filled in for Neil Patrick Harris in the role of Frances for performances between June 20th and 25th that year, and she proved to be the perfect choice. Needless to say, she was thrilled about the role. She posted a picture of herself backstage on Instagram along with the caption, "This is one of those not a big deal photos of a Broadway actress backstage in her Broadway dressing room getting ready for her first Broadway rehearsal for her first run on Broadway." Despite her bubbly on-screen roles, Kemper has faced some controversy you wouldn't expect. For instance, in 2021, Kemper found herself in a firestorm when social media users uncovered articles about how she was crowned the Queen of the St. Louis Veiled Prophet Ball in 1999 when she was 19 years old. The Veiled Prophet organization has racist and sexist origins dating back to 1878. On top of crowning a queen, the ball's veiled prophet is an anonymous man in a costume resembling what the KKK wears. In addition, black men weren't allowed into the organization until 1979. The organization continues to be affiliated with white supremacist and patriarchal ideologies, so Kemper naturally was criticized for being in the group's beauty pageant. She quickly denounced the organization on Instagram with a lengthy apology and explanation, writing, "The century-old organization that hosted the debutante ball had an unquestionably racist, sexist, and elitist past. I was not aware of this history at the time, but ignorance is no excuse. I was old enough to have educated myself before getting involved." Kemper doesn't just act and write, she runs too. In fact, she's quite the fitness buff, and in 2022, she took her fitness goals to the next level by running the New York City Marathon. She posted about the race on Instagram and then discussed it during a Today appearance, where she admitted to texting her sister partway through the race to say, "This is the worst day of my life." However, she had changed her tune by the time she crossed the finish line.
After it was over, I was like, that was the best day of my life.
And you did it.
I did it. I did it. One way, in one way or another, I finished.
It turns out that she's always been into eating healthy and working out, as she thrives on the buzz that exercise brings. However, she's had to adjust her approach to training as she's gotten older. When she sat down for a candid interview with The Cut, she said, "As I've grown into an older woman, I take the message about balance more seriously. When I was younger, it was more about go, go, go and trying to burn the candle from both ends. Now I'm more okay with not always doing everything at 110%. That's a smart approach, no matter your age, and is likely part of the reason Kemper is still so full of energy in her 40s. In 2023, it was reported that Kemper was set to star in and produce a new comedy series tentatively titled Drop Off, a U.S. adaptation of the BAFTA-nominated British sitcom Motherland. The original, which debuted in 2017, was a big hit across the Atlantic, scoring rave reviews. According to Variety, Drop-Off received a pilot order from ABC. Shortly after news of the American remake broke, some more casting announcements trickled in, with Judy Greer getting the role of another mom, Amanda, who seems to have her life together in contrast to Kemper's Julia. All of this news came out in 2023, and since that time, there haven't been any updates as to whether the pilot was filmed or if it's been picked up for more episodes. It could very well be dead in the water, which would be sad news for fans of Kemper. However, sometimes it takes a while for these projects to get significant momentum. Regardless, Kemper is still very busy, and her next big project could be right around the corner.